good stuff. So I'm really excited. It's been a long time since I've gotten to be up here doing this. Some of y'all remember, some don't. So times have changed. Anyway, so look, we're going to dive right in because we do have a very full meeting for you today. And I want to make sure that we cover all of it because we've got some really, really great information for you. So you guys at home, can you guys hear us? I don't see anybody. Can I get anything? Bueller. All right, so I'm going to assume they can hear us at home. And if they can't, then somebody will eventually speak up, I'm sure. All right, so let's get this party started. 1 second here. All right, look, y'all know how we like to start. You used to be telling me something good. No, tell me what you're grateful for. What y'all grateful for out there?
How about them dogs?
How about that? How about that? Look, and I actually watched the game. This is hard to believe, right? But my little one, my 7-year-old, started playing football last year. So we started watching football, which is fun and annoying at the same time because there's so much dang football.
Yes.
So I can see why all the wives have complained for years. I'm like, what are these women complaining about? These guys are just trying to watch some football. But it's literally 24 hours for the whole weekend. It is all consuming, but it is fun. So yes, go dog. What else we got? What are we grateful for?
You're doing the meeting this morning.
Rob, thank you. I appreciate that. Listen, I was hoping one of the agents would say it, but thank you, Rob. I'm so glad somebody did. All right, what else? I was just playing this guy. Yeah, no, he's on the payroll. He's good.
For buyers, it's great that the market is normalizing.
Great for buyers, normalizing. Are y'all seeing some offers that you can actually like ask for some concessions? You can ask for maybe, God forbid, closing costs. You know what I mean? You can ask for, who's asking for home warranties? Let's give Kelly a shout. Who's asking for, y'all back to asking for home warranties?
And you don't have to offer like 50,000 over asking.
That's right. So I think there's a lot of opportunity right now to dig into those databases from those buyers who just felt like they were punched in the face for the last 2 years and just say, hey, look, now's the time. Yes, interest rates are a little higher, but you can actually negotiate some pretty cool things. So let's get one more. What else are we grateful for?
I was just going to say one more, adding on to that. I've got 2 buyers that are going to get accepted contingencies.
Wow.
Nice.
We have one in my neighborhood in Beaufort City Schools that's been sitting there under contract for 2 months, waiting on a contingency to close in Reunion because they can't sell the dang thing in Reunion for some reason. So if that's not a sign of change, I don't know what is, right? Reunion and Beaufort City Schools is having trouble selling 2 amazing homes. So, all right, guys, look, lots to be grateful for. We should definitely give gratitude every single day. What else we got here? Let's bring up Joy James. Guarantee Mortgage, let's give her a hand.
Is that right there? Good. It is a good time for buyers. I think it is. I mean, even though the rates are going up, I am seeing some closing costs, believe it or not, and some contingencies. So, and I'm busy. Usually when I start to get a little busy with pre-quals, then it comes to you guys. So it's not normal times. But it's been busy, and do you have a little flyer?
I do.
We've got some other good news. I like when it's good news and not all doom and gloom.
There you go.
We are increasing our conforming loan limits to 715. They've been 647, 200, and now they're going to 715. And usually this is announced at the beginning of the year. Usually it's not effective until January. But you will see, you'll probably see this from a few people, but not all lenders are doing this. So, but starting with all loans closing October 1st, we can stay at conforming. And what that means is any conventional loan can be 715 and lower that we do. So it helps a lot, especially with the increase in price, right? And that's what it's all based on. It's all reports that come out, usually 3rd quarter reports. So 715 will be the real amount, which is, I'm so excited about this because you have those like 800 kind of prices, and it's then kind of tricky to put them into a jumbo. And the reason why lenders love it is because the jumbo guidelines are just totally different and harder and all that stuff. This makes everyone's life so much easier. But every time this happens, especially mine, but every time this happens, I like to really give you an idea. I'm just going to throw some numbers out here. Back in 2000, okay, 20 whatever years ago, 22 years ago, guess what the conforming loan limit was? I would just like to throw this.
425.
They said, what was it?
374.
400,000.
It was 252,000.
Wow.
So just to give you a little bit of an idea, okay, yes, wow, I know. So that was a conventional, but I always like to throw that out because it's just interesting to know how it's increased over the years. And the only other thing I wanted to talk about, I know Tiffany had office open hours this morning, and the Market Center will start doing this with Kelly Solhan and Guarantee, and ours will be the second Wednesday of the month. So tomorrow morning from 10 to 11, I will have open office hours, and we'll just meet in here and just bring your questions. It's your time to ask any questions you want. If it's about loan programs, if it's about credit, whatever you want to talk about, I'll be here. So just FYI, we're going to start doing that monthly. Any questions for me? All right, thank you guys.
Awesome, let's give her a hand, guys. All right, speaking of Tiffany, let's give her a hand, Kelly and Sorahan.
Yes, so the office hour is a big thing. I was very excited to have a couple people come by this morning, and we talked for almost a whole hour. So just bring your questions. They had questions, and then we also just talked about like red flags that you're seeing, anything. It can be contract specific, it can be market specific, or it can just be general, general questions, whatever you guys want to talk about. I'll be here every second Tuesday of the month from 10 to 11 right before team meeting. And then also, this is a reminder I like to do twice a year, because I know October 15th is coming up with tax filings, and not that every real estate agent doesn't file their taxes in April. But
not all of them.
not all of them. I know I just turned mine in. So with your clients going through this right now, it's always a friendly reminder. I know you guys are always looking for touches for your clients, to tell them that if they had a sale or a purchase or a refinance in the previous year, to make sure that their tax professional knows it. And one of the big things, the reason why I try to remind people of that is people think, okay, I sold my house, but I lived there for 2 years and it was under 250 or under 500, so I don't owe any taxes, so they don't report it, which is a big no-no. And I don't want you guys to get into giving tax advice at all. I don't get into giving tax advice at all. I just say, we report it to the IRS, so you have to also. If you have exemptions, like it was your primary residence, then you file that exemption form also. But literally, that's about all I'll say, and I wouldn't get into the nitty-gritty because there's so much. What I learned about tax law 20 years ago in law school has probably changed 40 times, like twice a year since then. So, I don't pretend to know everything, but I do like to remind people, if you have a sale, a refinance, or purchase, make sure that your tax professional knows, just so that they get the settlement statement to them. Because all our firm does is report the social security numbers and the sales price. That's it. We do one transmittal in January of every closing that every sale that we close, and that's required by law. And that's all we give the IRS. So they know if somebody sold. Whether that person reports it or not, if they don't, then, I had one a couple weeks ago, two years later, they get a bill in the mail because they didn't report it, and they sent them the bill for the full sales price because they didn't report the sale and tell them that they had paid $700 for it. They sold it for $800. It was a primary residence for 2 years. They shouldn't have owed anything, but if you don't report that $800,000 sale, you can imagine the call I got when they got that tax bill. So, it's fun. So just a reminder.
On something like that, if it's there's an amount over which you have to pay in capital gains. Okay, so $100,000, there would be no capital gains, but was that bill a penalty?
So they didn't report the sale at all. So the IRS didn't get any notification from the taxpayer in their returns that they had sold a home.
Yeah.
Had they reported it and filled out the appropriate, like the sale of the residential property form that goes with that, they wouldn't have any tax liability. And they still won't. They're just going to have to amend their returns. But that, you could pay somebody to amend it and all that. But what they got the bill for was the full $800.
Wow.
Because you were required to notify that there was a sale?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, every January we have to do a transmittal of every single transaction that we close. And it's just one big transmittal. It's not like we send out individual 1099s. It's just, so they're gonna know. And they will find you. I know, that's true. With all this, their new 80,000 employees, somebody's gonna find you faster, so. But if y'all have any questions on it, let me know. And again, I'd never suggest anybody be tax advisors. That's a slippery slope where you don't wanna say the wrong thing. But if you remind your clients, hey, if you had a sale, purchase, or refinance in 2021, make sure that you reported it to your tax professional. That's an easy little one-liner, you know. Any questions? If you have some, come next.
Let's give her a hand, guys. And then Kelly is not with us, but she's awesome, 210 Home Warranty, and Jason, Georgia Home and Auto. Y'all make sure that you look them up. Speaking of our awesome partners, we do have some really great vendors. We've got a few in the room. Y'all want to stand up, tell us who you are? Give us your name and your company.
Sammy Baker, Contractor of Glass Solutions.
Yeah, the best guy, he bugs you every day. Rob Shirley Home Inspection, do the right thing, give us a call, we'll take care of your clients, home load, right on new construction.
Let's give him a hand, guys. Rob's working on his comedy career. I love it. It's good stuff. All right, so look, coming up in September, well, y'all see us right here today. That is definitely not me on the left side right there. And we've got Staging Like a Pro with Ann Sepko and Liz Watt. We've got the Eterno group coming in on the 20th. We've got Bob Hartwell also on the 20th. So we've got some really, really great stuff happening. Guys, here's the deal. Take advantage of the training in the Market Center. Plug in. This stuff, I mean, you got people that, I'm gonna tell y'all, looking at some of these folks on here, you got folks that make upwards of $400, $500, $600, $1 million a year that are taking time out of their day to come stand in this room and to pour into your businesses. Look, let me let you know a little secret. We don't pay them. I know, right? Like these people, we don't pay them a dime. We beg them to come do this. And if y'all don't show up and take advantage of it, you're missing opportunities. So that's my piece on that. Look, take the opportunity to learn. I heard something recently on a podcast that stuck with me. The guy said, work more on yourself than you do on your job. And you will, actually, that was Jim Rohn. He's my man, Jim Rohn. I love that guy. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And you will get wealthy. You will find the results that you're looking for. So this is you working harder on yourself than your job, I promise you, listening to these people. So please show up, plug in. You've got some, man, look at these two powerhouses right here. Whew, we should all be so lucky to be these two one day, right? I'll even wear a wig if I have to. Like I'll be, you know what I'm saying? Like we should be so lucky to be one of them and run a business like they do right there. And then of course, David Maxey, contracts class. There is no greater authority in our organization than David Maxey when it comes to contracts. So y'all can have the Adrian way, which operates a little in the gray, or you can have the David Maxey way, which is 100% by the book. So y'all, I recommend you come learn from him. Stay out of trouble. All right. And then of course, Jason Bonds, who always does an amazing job, the art of negotiating a deal. I've never seen this guy teach this class. I'm going to be here for this class. Like I want to hear how Jason Bonds negotiates. He's got a way with words and he's got a perspective like nobody I've ever met. So I want to hear how this guy, again, we're talking about millionaires taking time out of their lives to stand in front of us and to pour into our lives and our businesses. Y'all need to take advantage of this. All right, I'll get off my soapbox. You get it? Give me some nods. We got one got it. We got good. All right, we're good. All right, so career night 21st coming up. Everybody in here, what happens when you tell a friend or family member you're in real estate? Oh my gosh, I've always thought about getting into real estate, right? So this is step one. Step one is send them to a career night. We're going to be on Zoom that night. It's super easy. They can do it from their car if they wanted to. We'll talk to them about the process. How do they get licensed? What happens when they get licensed? What does the process look like after they get licensed? That's step one. You got those friends, you got those family members, send them to that Zoom right there. Oh man, look, this is bold. Come on now. Who here has taken Bold before? Okay, about half the room. All right, so let me tell you about Bold. For those of y'all that have never taken it, we have a lot of newer people in the room. So Bold, as you can see, is a 7-week program. It is a program that comes into town. Marcus is actually out of the Nashville area. We had Marcus last year for Bold, and he's a Bold coach. These guys are highly trained, super legit. They do great business in real estate and all those things. They know their stuff. Bold comes in. It is an intense 7-week training, sales training, business training, mindset training program. Now here's the deal, guys. I'm gonna throw a number out there. It's $800, right? It's $800. I know $800 is a lot of money, especially if you don't have $800. But I'm gonna tell y'all that in 2013, when I got licensed and I joined this brokerage right here, and I was wandering in the desert for 40 years, or 40 days and 40 nights, it felt like. And it was actually Bob Hartwell was one of the people who said, hey man, you should take Bold. It'll help you get some direction. It will jumpstart your business. So I took the first step of Bold, which is free. The first day is free. Now look, full disclaimer, they will pitch you and try to get you to sign up for the full $800. However, they are not taking all day to pitch you to sell you on their program. What they're gonna do is they're gonna pour into your business. They're gonna give you real, actual things you can do to grow your business that day. And of course, there will be some commercial breaks where they do try to get you to sign up, because the Bold Coach don't make no money if nobody signs up, right? But I urge you, take step one for free at the very least. Here's my experience. I listen to guys like Bob, David Blanton, Jason Bonds, Michelle Vanderwolf, Ann Sepko. These folks that were in real estate for years, they were already successful, and they all said the same thing. Take Bold, you'll find direction, you'll find what you're looking for. I should have got that picture of you, shit. They made me do some weird things in Bold back then. They don't do the weird things anymore. Y'all remember, like, you used to lay on the floor, right? So there was a day when everybody would have to bring in dollar bills, right? You can see where this is going. So you would have to bring in dollar bills. Who's done this before? Yeah, we've got a few people. All right, so you would come in, and then you would have to lay on the ground, and your team of 7 or 8 or 10 people would take these dollar bills, and they would make it rain. And you'd be laying there going, I'm a money magnet! And they would throw money at you. Yo, that stuff was weird. But, all right, but here's the thing. It worked. All right, here, you've got to release what you think you know about your business and yourself, and you just got to follow the process. So look, I got a picture of it. I pulled it up the other day from 10 years ago, laying on the ground like an idiot going, I'm a money magnet, right? Covered in dollar bills. And that is where my business started to take off, because I can trace back most of my sales to what happened in that first year, right? To what happened in Bold in that 7 weeks. Because Bold is what got me to drive by a for sale by owner one day. And here's what I used to do. Before Bold, I would drive by a for sale by owner. I would see the FISBO. It's like a spider web or something in my hair. It's driving me crazy. I would see this FISBO, and I would go, oh, I should write down that number. Yeah, I'll get that on the way back. And then I would write down the number, and then it's never call them, right? How many people have done that before? Be honest, right? Oh, I should call that person, right? But Bold had me thinking, dude, you should do a U-turn and go knock on that guy's door. So I got to the stop sign, and I was like negotiating against myself, like, nah, that's stupid. That guy's not gonna want to talk to you. But then in my head, I was like, that Bold coach would really want me to do this. So I flipped the U-turn, went back, knocked on his door. Dude shows up in shorts and a tank top, right? It's the middle of the day, so I'm like, are you unemployed? Like, what's your deal? But he's like, what's up? I said, hey, bud, I noticed you have a for sale by owner sign in your yard. He goes, yeah, you looking at buying a house? And I said, no, sir, I'm looking at selling one. And I shoved my card in his face. And he laughed, and I laughed. And I said, so? and he was like, listen, man, I don't want to work with a realtor. He goes, but if you have a buyer, I'll certainly pay you your 3%. He said, you want to come in and have a look? So I walked in, we looked around his house, beautiful home. I said, here's the deal. I want to come back and do a real appointment, right? Let me get set up, let me get all my stuff together. So we set an appointment for that Saturday. I came back, we did a listing appointment. He was insane at that time on his pricing. He was like 50, 60 grand above where I thought he needed to be. And I said, buddy, listen, you're just so far away. I just can't invest my money and my time into something that is so far above today's market. Now, look, I wish you the best. If I find a buyer that and I can bring you an acceptable offer, it's all good. We parted ways, you know, whatever, it's all good. 2 months later, the guy calls me up and says, hey, do you remember me? I said, I sure do. He goes, I have a friend who just got a divorce up in Winder. She needs to sell her house. Can you help her out? You bet I can. See, what I didn't know when I knocked on that guy's door is that he was actually a mortgage broker working out of his basement. That's why he's dressed that way, because he's working from home, right? This was 10 years ago, before working from home was cool, right? And he was a mortgage broker, and he knew people, and he did things. That guy ended up connecting me with multiple transactions over the next couple of years. We became friends. Some of y'all might know him. Is Josh Ignosky? Does that ring a bell? He's started his own little company now. He's doing really, really well, right? But Bold made me do that. Bold made me walk into banks and veterinary offices with little baskets of treats and walk in and go, hey, my name's Adrian, I'm a realtor, we do a lot of business in this area. I had done none at the time. And they said, we do a lot of business, Keller Williams, right? And I wanted to introduce myself. And that got me connected to Pam, who was the loan officer at BB&T. Pam called me up the next day because she wasn't in that day and said, hey, I'm sitting here eating this pack of Oreos thinking, what a nice guy to stop by and drop these off for me, right? I'd love for you to come in, I'd love to meet you. I said, I'll be there tomorrow. So I showed up the next day, we ended up talking for an hour, and she says, I don't have a realtor that I refer to regularly. Would you like to be that person? Would I? Here's a stack of cards this thick, right? Pam ends up sending me $2 million in sales over the next 18 months because of that conversation. Now, would I have thought to do those things on my own? Maybe, maybe not. I probably would have negotiated against myself because we all have that little voice in our brains that says we're not good enough. Nobody's going to want to do that. Don't knock on that guy's door. He's not interested. He's a FISBO, right? But it was the bold voice that said, dude, on Monday, you have to show up and you have to be accountable. Oh, just put the buttons up here. You have to be accountable for results because that's a huge piece of bold. You commit to results. You commit to activities. And now I'm going to show up and I've got a team. I don't want to let my team down, right? Because the whole team is counting on me. So they put you together at tables. They make you accountability, right? Team member to team member. So I'm gonna tell y'all, I think it's a great, great program. It's a different program today than it was 10 years ago. Thank God they redesigned it. There's no more, I'm a money magnet, right? There's no more of that crazy stuff in there. And they've really brought it up to today's times. And here's a funny thing. Back then, they used to make you take your cell phones and put them in a plastic bag in the center of the table. And you weren't allowed to look at your phone. Can you imagine, like, not having access to the phone for like 6 hours? It was crazy. I know the clock's not come out. You can't do it. Yes, sir.
On the open one, on the 20th, are they still allowing like other agents to bring people from another agency? Maybe taking a switch?
Anybody, yeah, any agent, anybody can come in.
Yeah, I've been to a couple of the free ones that I've actually gotten business from, and they're out of an agent, another agency. So let them know about your downline and, you know, make it come.
It's actually a really great opportunity, right, to get some people from other brokerages involved. They can experience that. Usually a pretty high conversion rate once they get to experience the level of training and things that we offer here. It usually does lend itself pretty well to growing your profit share tree. So, any questions about Bold? I know I just went on and on about it. Anybody got anything? I know Bob's got something that he's dying to.
You know, I'm just sitting here thinking it's the equivalent of a boot camp. I mean, it's challenging. It'll get you out of your comfort zone.
Yep.
There's a lot of things that are uncomfortable about it, but in the end, at the end of the day, it gets results.
Yep. That's it. Anybody here looking for results? Nobody? I have failed you. Everybody should be like, woo!
Yeah, and that guy right there taught the class last year.
Marcus?
Yeah.
Dude, he is like energized bunny.
Yeah.
He's like super energy,
Yep.
super engaging dude.
I really liked him. Really, really great guy, great presenter. Like there's lots of Bold coaches, probably hundreds, because when they launch these, they do them all over the country. There's like tons going on at the same time. He's one of the best. Folks, I've been to at least 10 Bolds. I've experienced a lot of coaches, and some of them were a little bit of a snooze fest. This guy is not that. So
He's definitely not snoozing.
what's that?
He's definitely not snoozing.
No, he's intense. He's a lot of fun. So all right, so here, get your phone out, scan this, and register, because first day, I'm not asking you for $800 today. It's also on your table there, right? But get registered for step one. If you do nothing else, invest a few hours that day and come see what it's all about and learn what you're going to learn that day. All right. Oh, here's the other piece. Yes.
What else do they get today if they register for first step for CDA?
An entry into a drawing for a Starbucks gift card.
Actually, we up that $10 Starbucks gift card to a $20 QT gift card sponsored by Sammy Baker.
Oh, there you go. $20. All right, Sammy Baker. So, you know, normally we'll do that on-time drawing. Today it's, hey, you signed up for this, and then your name will go in the bucket. All right? I don't know.
Yeah, it's at the King.
It says Sugar Loaf.
In 2987.
Where?
In
In Duluth?
Yeah.
King 57 Main Street.
Nice facility, I assume,
Yeah, they do.
downtown.
They do
Toledo.
weddings and stuff.
It's like an event.
Okay.
Yeah, they do weddings and stuff.
Not too far.
Oh,
Awesome. All right. That's my piece on bold. Hey, this brings us to our main event today. Y'all help me welcome Chip. Come on up, Chip. Let's give him a hand. Chip, I can give you a director's chair or we can stand. It's up to you. You sure?
Yeah, I'm absolutely.
What's that? You don't want this chair
It's
anymore.
gonna be awkward. It's gonna be awkward either way.
You don't want this chair anyway. All right, so here's the deal. Our topic today is golden letters. So let me take this off screen share for the people at home. I mean, I can see Jim. The rest of y'all are hiding from me, but that's okay. I'll trust you're there. All right, so let me introduce y'all to Chip. Chip, how long have you been licensed?
About a year.
About a year. All right. And I will say that Chip is very humble. He's a very humble guy, and
I'm a back of the class sitter.
well, look, he's very humble. He's like, I don't even know why you want me up there. Right? And I'm like, because what you're doing is amazing, and we need to share this with you guys. So obviously, our topic is golden letters. Y'all remember several months ago when we started doing these as a market center? We had the workshops. Sarah brought in that great speaker. I forgot her name, but she was on the Zoom thing with us and told us about her results. And we did the workshops here where we provided letters and envelopes and all the different things. I think we did it twice, had a pretty good turnout the first time, much smaller turnout the second time. And like a lot of things, a lot of folks lose steam and they lose energy and they're like, well, I mean, I dabbled, I tried, it was okay. And then they moved on. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand, but I know that a lot of people, they tried it once or twice and then they lost interest. And I can tell y'all that I'm the same way, right? Like, I'm that way with exercise. It was really hard at first. I'm like, listen, I rode that bike for like 10 minutes. I'm still fat. I had broccoli for dinner. Still got tight pants. You know what I mean? Like, it was upsetting. But like with anything, consistency and time on task is where you see the results. So that's why Chip is standing up here. So Chip, you took the original class, right? Back in April?
Yes.
All right, would you step over to the side a little bit just to make sure this microphone catches your voice? It's right, it's behind us. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right, I don't know why I did that. I'm sorry. So you guys at home, I want to make sure you hear this. So tell us about that in April.
Well, I really didn't know what I was doing, like a lot of people don't. I don't have background in sales. My background, I've had multiple careers. As you can tell, I'm old. So over time, most of my careers have been in business management, in different, production processes, stuff like that. So it's been a career of me and then people who work for me. And those of you who are old school like I am, you didn't fraternize. That was just a rule. So my sphere of influence was like this. I had like nobody to call. You have friends and family, but you don't have a massive family with 14 kids. That's not exactly a big database. So I was looking for something that would help me find some listings, find some people, but also help me build a database at the same time. And didn't really know what to do. I'm not a huge cold caller, although there's a lot of things I want to get better at, but there was nothing I really found as a niche. And then we had a class with Brian Addison, who built his business on handwritten notes. And that intrigued me. So I started doing some handwritten notes. And I actually got one person from that was a buyer that we ended up getting into a rental property that is now in my database at some point in time. But then we had the class on the golden letters. So it kind of played off of the handwritten notes. And the golden letters kind of made sense to me. And Adrian has said right from the beginning, if you're going to pick something to do it for 6 months and then go back and check the results. Don't do it for a couple weeks and trace it the whole time. Just commit to it for 6 months and see what happens. So the letters was something I could do. And I knew I could do it on a consistent basis. I do 50 a day, and it takes me about an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes, depending on how often my dogs interrupt me. So I just do that consistently every single day. It's something I know I can do, I can commit to, I can be consistent with it, and it just mounts over time. So I got started doing it, I started April 1st to commit to it. And so April, nothing happened. May, I had a couple of phone calls, a couple of appointments that fell through. Those people are still in my database. I still keep in touch with them, but nothing really came of it. Then,
Let's get to that part in just a second here.
Okay.
I first want to make sure, I'm going to show them the golden letter, because I know some people are like, please, let me at least see this thing, right? So let's just get that part out of the way first.
Okay.
So we got a copy of his letter, which is very standard, right?
yeah, it's kind of boring, actually.
Well, it's not boring, but
It's to the point.
Chip followed the model that was presented to us, right? So you guys at home should be able to see this as well. So at the top, he's got his logo and his little company name there. And then there's the letter. Dear Lee, even with the changes in the market, our real estate team has a buyer that is looking for a home similar to yours in your particular area. They're wanting to purchase a home, and we can't find anything for them since available home inventory is so low. Would you consider selling your home for the right price to our buyer? If so, please call me. We can see if this is a great match for both of you. Super basic, super to the point. And I remember that young lady saying, don't mess with it. Right?
I didn't.
She said, don't get creative. Don't add to it. Don't mess with it. Just send it, because that's what's working. So I wanted y'all to see that, and we'll send, y'all want a copy of that? We'll send that out. I mean, it's identical to what we've had there before, right? So let me come off of that screen share there. So I'm sorry, let's get back to that now. So how many active listings do you have on the market today?
Active listings, I ended up with 5. I had 1 expire,
Okay.
because my fun lady, which I
Yeah.
talked about. Currently 4, 2 of them are under contract. One of them closes this week.
Okay.
That's awesome.
5 listings.
Can you go back though? He was on month 2. I want to hear the progression.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
We'll get there.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
All right.
Yes, back to me.
So month 2, like I say, some phone calls, but nothing really happening. Then in June, in the expanse of 3 weeks, I had 4 listings. So they just come in bunches. I mean, there's one thing about any kind of marketing like this is if you have to sell a house this week, this is not what you want to do, because you just don't know. It's a long game, and you just do it consistently, and you have no idea who's going to call, when they're going to call. And I've had all kinds of different calls. I had a guy with the house is probably $1.5 million. And he called me and he said, do you have any idea how big my house is? And I said, no, not really. I said, I'm marketed to an area code, but I was sitting at my computer, so I got his address and I brought it up, and I'm like, yep, that's a big house. And I think it was a combination of I was as shocked that he called me as he was that I even sent him a letter. But we ended up with a 15, 20-minute conversation about absolutely nothing, not really real estate related. But we ended up finding out we had a whole lot in common, had a great conversation. He ended up thanking me for the phone call and thanking me for the letter. And we're going to stay in touch, and who knows what's going to happen a year or so from now. You just don't know.
Can somebody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Chip, I heard your story. I just have a question. Do you repeat those same addresses for the 6 months, or is it a one-time sent and then you move on to the next address?
To this point, it's been a one-time to each address, because I started, and I guess this is kind of another one of your questions down the road, Adrian, but basically, so I'm a charts and graphs guy, so I've got to be able to track everything I do, or else I'm not happy. I'm just, this is my OCD side. So I just got Google Earth and stuck a pin in my house, and then started radiating out from my house. So every neighborhood within about a 3 to 5 mile radius of my house I hit. And I just I set it down to, it has to be an owner occupied, and it has to be, people have to have been there for at least 3 years. And then I just print out addresses and I send the letters.
So I will tell you that piece there is different than when that other girl told us in her Zoom. It sounded to me like she was just kind of blanketing communities,
Yeah.
if I recall. And Chip was more targeted. So he's looking at, look, if you just bought a house a year ago, are you really a likely target for this?
Right.
It doesn't make sense for me to waste 73 cents to send those to people. So he was, again, charts and graphs, data driven. He did some research.
You filtering that through the tax records?
Hmm?
Are you filtering that through the tax records?
No, I'm going through Remine.
Okay, well.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
And here's what I'll tell you about his Google Earth system is actually quite fascinating. Because he pulled this thing up on the screen. I was like, look, I look at Google Earth to look like the pyramids in Egypt, you know what I mean? Like, I go to Google Earth and be like, what's going on in Paris today? You know what I mean? Like, I just want to know what's happening. I just want to see, people on the street, in Belgium. But this dude pulls this out and it's like, it's all like you've got different color pins, right? What are the different color pins for?
I've got, well, the big Google Earth this doesn't work on. You have to go through the Google Earth that's part of Chrome. And the Google Earth that's part of Chrome allows you to set up projects. And then you can do things within projects. So you can put a pin in the front of a neighborhood and call it the neighborhood, and that's your project. So if it's a neighborhood I've identified, it's a blue pin, it's a red pin. And then once I've printed out all of the addresses that I'm gonna mail to that neighborhood, I change it to our blue pin. And then when I get a phone call, then I highlight the house in yellow. And when I get a listing, I change that to green. So I can look at my whole farm area and see every neighborhood that I've hit. I can count the number of people that have called me, where their houses are, what their addresses are. And I can go back and call them anytime I want. And I can also see all the houses that are my listings, where they are. So I can get a good map and track of exactly what results I have and where the results are showing up. So at some point in time, that might matter. I don't know if it will or not, but I'm a data guy, so the more data, the better.
You got Gary and
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
That was completely new information. Would you mind repeating it one time? And then after that, I'll watch the video.
It's Google Earth on Chrome. And then you can go to the street view and all the other stuff and actually see what the name of the neighborhood is, because you can zoom in on it and see what it is. And you just drop a pin at the front of the neighborhood and you name that project what the name of that neighborhood is.
So Gary, you had a question.
So do you have any other parameters for the neighborhood besides distance? Are you looking for a particular price point, particular number of houses?
Not really. That's one thing about if you're used to using Google Maps or Google Earth or something like that, you can get a pretty good feel for what the neighborhoods look like. You can go back into RPR and you can do a neighborhood search that matches up that neighborhood, and it'll give you the averages within that neighborhood, about what price point average that neighborhood happens to hold. Some of the neighborhoods are too new and RPR doesn't pick up the actual neighborhood name, and you have to do like a map draw out of it. Yeah, Bob?
What's RPR?
Realtors Property Resources.
Never used it.
It's actually a really powerful tool.
Yeah, it's a great tool. I use that when I do valuations and that's like further on in the conversation, but when I do valuations for the properties, I'll use RPR. I don't necessarily use that for the CMA, even though they call it that, but it's a really extensive, 80-page valuation that it runs for you in 2 minutes.
Well, it's a great CMA tool for charts and graphs people.
Yes.
Yeah. So you never really know, but it works really well. It helps me just at a glance, and I'm a Gantt chart kind of a person. So, I don't necessarily like looking at lists. If I can look at a Gantt chart and identify what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, and how it relates to the other things I need to do, that I can just visualize it, that works for me. So that's why this works really well, because I can look at my farming area and it talks, because I know everything that's happening within that farm.
Jennifer?
Yes,
Real quick, I also have, done some of the building letters, and some of the roadblocks, I guess, that I'm having that I've kind of been stumped a little bit on is, I've had several phone calls, I've had 1 or 2 meetings, and every single person that I've either spoken to or had a meeting with are very specific in that I will go through the whole presentation, or on the phone, I'll talk to them to try to get the meeting. But I'm wanting to hear from you maybe what kind of words you say to get around the fact of, they all tell me one specific thing. We would love for you to show our house, but we do not want you to list our house. We are not in a super hurry to leave our house, but if you have a buyer, we would be more than happy to pay you, as a, 3% or whatever, but we're not interested in listing. And I mean, I have gone, rack my head, tried all different kinds of lingo, tried different charts and graphs, trying to pitch them, and I'm stuck. So what are you using in order to, because I've sent the letters and then I was like, okay, let me just send the letters to specific areas in which I physically have a buyer for. So then I can just, have my buyer, show up. And say, hey, and then I can say, hey, this house isn't for them, but then, I would love to, you're gonna see have lots more opportunities for other people to see your house if you list. I don't care. If you have someone, you can bring it. Otherwise, I'm not interested in listing. So it's like, I can't get them to turn. So can you share with us maybe some, what you say during your meetings to have them, because I mean, obviously the letters perfectly states, we've got people that are looking.
Mhm.
Great, bring them by. But then when I try to shift it to say, now that I see this, they're really looking for a 4-bedroom, or, I've tried all kinds of different things. And then they're like, well, that's fine. When you have someone, just give us a call and we'd be happy to open the house up for you.
Well, the biggest thing I ran into, and I had this discussion with Adrian when we first started doing it, and it was a roadblock for me, is I was saying that I have a buyer.
Right.
I didn't have a buyer. I mean, I don't have any clients, I don't know anybody. So trying to go in and say that I have a buyer, I felt like I was kind of lying.
Right.
And the discussion that Adrian and I had in the beginning was about the all cash buyers. So I went and got certified with Keller Offers.
Okay.
So I have at least 3 all cash buyers right there. And then OfferPad split off from Keller Offers. So that's an independent that we can still use. So I work with them as well. So I know walking in the door that I can get you up to 4 all cash offers in 24 to 72 hours. Yeah, I have a buyer.
Okay.
So I treat the golden letters from that aspect,
Okay.
that I'm just basically bird dogging for cash buyers.
So how did you get the cash buyers through Keller Offers?
Certify with Keller Offers, and then the conversation, basically I want to get in the door. Okay, so when I talk to people on the phone and they're the same thing, do you have a buyer?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yes, we have multiples. We have institutional buyers, we have retail buyers. And and when I talk to the people, it's, I would love to come by and have an opportunity for you to give me a tour of your home and show me all the things that you've done to it that can increase the value, so I can give you an accurate estimate of what your house is worth.
So you're using that to take a picture to submit.
Well, I don't tell them that in front of you. But I'm like, would that be okay? And, do you have an evening this week? I can just swing by for a few minutes. This is not like an appointment to come list,
Sure.
at least not in their minds.
Right.
So when I get in the door, my objective is to give them options. There is a reason for all cash buyers, and they're right for some people. They don't want to do anything. They don't want to clean it up. They don't want to move anything. And they're willing to sacrifice $30,000 to $50,000 for the ease of walking out the door. And there's other people who want the money. So the conversation revolves around, you have options. Here's what an all cash offer is. And here's what we can do with a listing. Here's the pros and cons. What works for you? What are you trying to get out of your home? Do you want quick and easy and you're willing to sacrifice some money? Or do you want to put some time and effort into it and make an extra 30 to 50 grand on the house? You know, what works for you? So far, all the ones that I've talked to want to make the extra 30 to 50,000. You know, and we have the conversation. I'm like, you know, when somebody's an all cash buyer, do you really think they're going to move into your home? Of course they're not. This is an investment. So they've got, this is what they think they can sell the house for. Then they're going to take away what they think they need to do to get it ready to sell. Then they're going to subtract their fees and their profits. And then this is what they're going to offer you. So think about it. You know, that's going to sit about 30 to 50 grand on average, sometimes more. So they're taking all that work and they're making a profit from it. Do you want to do the work and make the profit, or do you want them to do the work and you sacrifice the profit? It's up to you. And so far, everyone has decided that's the way they want to go. They would rather list, but they're the ones making the determination.
But if they come back and say, but do you have someone that you can come, you know, have them see the house, you know, sometime?
Say absolutely. As a matter of fact, if you have about a half an hour, we could walk around the house. I can take pictures of everything in the house. Now, we want the good, the bad, and the ugly, because we want the offer to be a legitimate offer. We don't want to come in and take pictures of only the good stuff and have them send in an inspector and then have them come back and say, well, yeah, we offered you this, but this is wrong, so now this is the actual offer. We want the offer to be the real offer. So let's get a picture of everything going on in the house. So we can do all of that, have them sign off on my ability to show an unlisted property, or if it's Keller Offers, have their, you know, little form that you fill out, and then I can go home, upload the pictures to OfferPad and Keller Offers in 24 to 72 hours. I've got an offer that I can go present to them. And then Keller Offers or OfferPad will pay me.
Right.
So, I mean, either way they want to go, we're fine. So yes, I do have a buyer. Yes, I can get you an offer in 24 hours.
So
it's up to you.
But it's not, you're not physically bringing, so if they
Well-
keep hammering, because they kept hammering me, I was like, oh my gosh.
Well,
So,
I
you just
represent
go-
my buyer, and
Right.
I have to take, this is step one. And
Right.
if I can't do this, then my buyer is never gonna write you a check.
Right.
So can I come over or not?
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah,
What
I
are we
mean,
gonna
if,
add
you know,
on?
Well, I mean, what Chip is saying is, that's simple and genius. Okay, it's just really, it's a really good program that he's got going on. But what I wanted to also say to you, Jennifer, and anyone else who has the question in their mind of, but I don't really have a buyer. You made contact. Contact is what this is all about.
No,
I'm not correcting you. I'm just saying that open that up a little bit, because here's, in our business, our business is typically not immediate. You know, I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and most of my business is just because I stay in touch with people. When I left new construction and got into resale years and years and years ago, I went back to all the subdivisions that I sold homes in and put out basically a letter saying, hey, I'm in real estate, you know, I can do this. It wasn't immediate, but because I stayed in touch with people, they began to turn when it was time for them to sell, they would call me. Here's the one comment that I have about keeping in mind that it's a contact sport. We got to get belly to belly, face to face with people. I always look at this as they are either a past client, a present client, or a future client. If I know them, my goal is to have them as a future client. So the reason I like this golden letter thing is because if you get the phone call and if you get your foot in the door, it gives you kind of permission to say, well, I don't have a buyer, however, I'm gonna stay in touch with you because the day I do, or the day you decide to list, I think I can help you with this. And then, you know, you go take that a little step further like Chip is, and having, you know, buyers in your back pocket. How many actually, you said nobody's really taking the cash offers. They're listing the houses.
After we have the conversation,
Right.
and I lay out what their options are,
Right.
you know, everyone so far has said, no, we want you to go ahead and list it.
But it's not the first contact you make. This is multiple conversations.
No, this is typically once I get in and we sit down.
So once you get in, you sit down and you have that conversation, they say, I want to list it higher.
Yeah, because I'll go in, you know, I mean, you always go in with a contract and with a CMA. You know, I mean, I don't tell them that when we're on the phone. I'm like, I'll stop by for a few minutes. But these things are in my briefcase. You know, I've done my legwork. I'm prepared. So when I go in the door and we start talking and we discuss things and we're like, you know, well, what did you want to get out of your home? And we have that, and we're just sitting down having that conversation. I've got a CMA to pull out and say, hey, I took a few minutes to put this together for you. Let me show you what I've seen. And this is what I think we can get on the market. So this is what I think these all cash buyers are going to want to sell your house for themselves after they buy it from you. And then I walk back the money that they're going to have to spend. You know, and when they come in and they say, well, you know, what about commissions? I'll say, well, it's like, for example, OfferPad is either 6 or 7%. Well, I charge 3. And that's a whole other conversation.
We'll get into that right now, Chip.
We're not gonna but
Ain't got time for that, Chip.
that's another conversation, but.
That's another team meeting, Chip.
But the point is that I'll sit down and say, so that 6% service fee that they're charging you, that's where my commission is coming from. So yeah, you're still paying my commission. You're just paying it to them through a service fee, and then they're giving it to me rather than you paying me. It doesn't, however you want to paint it, it's the same thing. So, you know, here's the CMA, here's what your house is worth, here's what I can list it for, or I can get you an all cash buyer and you don't have to do any work, but subtract this percent, subtract what their $10,000 to $15,000 that they're going to come in and paint it and change the flooring, subtract what they want to make as a profit, and that's about where your offer is going to be, $30,000 to $50,000 below what we're saying we're going to list it for. What do you want to do?
So here's the thing. The letter is like, it's like when you're digging for something, you first hit it and you hear that crunch, and you go, oh, there it is. I think there's something there. Just gotta keep going to get the whole thing out. So the letter is just finding it. Now he's digging to really unearth, is this a real sale? And back to Bob's point in your conversation, all I kept thinking about was, you know what, not everybody's gonna work out. And some of them will work out immediately, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
Others will work out a year or two from now, as Bob said, if you just keep in touch long enough.
Well,
because you've hit, you know that they're there, and now you have that opportunity for the actual personal relationship. And now, you know, I don't know about y'all, but I intend to be in real estate for the next 10 or 20 or 30 years. So once you're in my, not Bob, once you're in my web, right? I'm gonna get Bob's clients if he leaves. Once you're,
Hey, buddy.
well, once you're in my world, it's my job to keep in touch with you. So the thing that was astounding to me, and I haven't looked at it in a couple of months, but when Chip pulled up his Google Earth and showed me that system, and I saw all the yellow little markers, and I said, what are those?
Got 5 listings, but I have 13 future transactions
That's
between
it, right?
database
That's
and.
it right there. That's a pipeline.
Between
Yeah.
database and pipeline is
That's
within
it right
6
there.
months. If it's outside of 6 months, I don't put them in the pipeline, those are database.
Yeah.
So I have 13 future transactions between
Plus
database
5.
and pipeline,
Plus 5.
plus the 5 listings.
So look, that's an average of $10,000 of commission. That's a $180,000 pipeline. And I just sat there and did some math real quick while he was talking, right? Since April, estimate that he sent about 6,000 letters, 250 a week, right? 50 a day.
Yeah, 2 to 250 a week.
Yeah, 73.5 cents per letter. I did the math upstairs before I came down here. 73.5 cents per letter. He spent about $4,500. $180,000 return on $4,500 invested. Please take my money. I will give you the 4,500. Give me the 180. You know what I mean? Now, here's the trick. You got to wait for the 180.
Yeah.
I can't just write you a check today. We'd all line up, wouldn't we? Put it on my card if I need to. Swipe it. Give me my 180. But he's been waiting since April. It's now September. His first closing is when?
Friday.
It's Friday.
Congratulations.
So, none of this is fast,
No.
right? And some of the questions is like, when do you do it? Like, he sits at night, listens to what, podcasts? And what do you do?
Yeah, I mean,
What's the
my
process
wife
here?
goes to bed a little bit earlier than I do because she still has a job. So I married young, what can I tell you? You know, I was smart, I married younger than me. So I'm retired and couldn't sit around the house, so I decided to do real estate. So I guess there's a few people who have done that in their life. So she goes to bed a little earlier than I do, and so I just sit up and listen to podcasts or music or something like that and just do my letters. So it takes an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes, and I'm done. I bundle them, and they're ready for the mailbox next morning.
Yeah, Lisa
I
and
just
Gary.
want to say, because I've sat with Chip on this, and he showed me the blue board thing, and it took me a little while, but what you didn't tell me was about the Chrome side. I've been looking at.
No, I told you that.
I
didn't tell you that.
Hold down.
Hey, look, and in
Now
that,
you just gave me the little click, I said, that's it, I'm missing it, it's Chrome.
Well, I've
But
got it
I
on my
wanna say
laptop. If
something.
anybody wants to see it, I'll show you. It's
I
on my
want to say
laptop.
something though. This man is amazing. He sits with you, he'll explain it to you. Great guy to talk to. I'm so blessed to know him, and all of you all, by the way. But what I want to say is consistency. And that's a problem with most of us. We're ADD and we go left field, right field, golden chime over here and this one, and we wait and we get frustrated and we walk.
well, and a lot of that comes from not seeing results today.
That's it
I
right
told
there.
y'all, I did a push-up. Why am I still fat?
Our business is not immediate, it
Yeah.
never has been, and it never will be.
Yeah.
It is all about what you just said, in building that pipeline. Because the pipeline comes, and as that does, you build your database, and then in the future, you stay in touch with your database, you ask for referrals, and you get referrals, and the data gets bigger, bigger, bigger. Where
grows.
35 years in,
Yeah.
it feeds you every day.
Yeah.
You got
Some
Gary.
people won't be in it 35 years.
Chip,
but
are you
I'm a
printing
product of
those on white paper and using white envelopes, or are you using funky colors?
Colored envelopes, and I do take the time to put the person's name in
Type
it.
it in?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, I've got, it's not a PDF, so you can go in and just go through your list of names and just change the first name on each one so it's personalized. And then I handwrite the envelopes and I put on a first class stamp. I don't meter them. And actually, one of my clients, they're both mail carriers. And I asked them why they opened my envelope. And that's what they said. He said, well, you sent it first class mail. He said, we get metered mail from everybody. We throw them in the trash.
Absolutely.
And he's a mail carrier. And he's like, it was first class mail. I felt like I needed to open it.
You put a return address in?
I put a sticker, but it's not an address. It's just my name and stuff like that. I don't have an address. It's just a sticker. Those are cheap too. You can print them on Avery labels so you don't have to pay for. Do it on Canva and put it on Avery labels, and it's pennies as opposed to spending 60, 70 bucks for a group of labels to be printed at some fancy place. I'm cheap.
We have
The return is amazing.
any more questions? We got about 1 minute before we wrap up. Let's give him a hand. Thanks, sir. I love it. I heard something the other day that said, every winner, every loser, they all had the same goal.
That's right.
The difference was the activity. Every winner, every loser, winners and losers all have the same goals. We all start the race hoping to win, right? We all start business hoping to win. It's our activities that set us apart. So consistency, time on task. I love all of that. Thank you so much, Chip. So y'all see why we wanted him up here, right?
Yeah.
And he's, like I said, he's a very humble man, but we made him do it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, so look, y'all can scan this. Let me share this at home as well. There are golden letter resources at this QR code. Did I share that? Can you guys see the QR code at home? I can't see you, so yes or no would be great. But that QR
Yes,
code.
yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. So there are some resources there for you guys that y'all can get and download. You know, again, like Chip and I talked in the beginning, 6 months minimum. Commit to the process. Don't skip days, don't skip weeks. Because days turn into weeks and weeks turn into months, and then you end up going, man, I wonder what would have happened if I kept doing it. So I remember saying this to Chip a couple months ago. I said, man, I need to get you up in front of people because I know that there's some people out there that are going to hear this and go, oh, I was in that workshop in April. Oh, I sent out a couple of rounds. Wow, why did I quit? Listen, that's real. And I don't want to make you feel that, but I want you to understand that, Chip said something earlier, I'm not a cold caller, I'm not a door knocker, I'm working on getting better at those things. Bro, you don't have to. You know what I'm saying? Like, if knocking on doors gives you hives, don't do it. If picking up the phone to cold call makes you cold sweat, don't do it. I don't care what you do, but you gotta do something. And then when you do that something, you gotta do it all the time, and you gotta do it for a really long period of time, right? And here's the thing, for most of us, the problem isn't knowledge, is it? Y'all know how to get healthy? Right? Eat less and exercise.
Yeah.
There you go, I solved the mystery for us. All right? Now, why don't we do that? It's hard, it's uncomfortable, it's not fun.
You don't see immediate results.
We don't see immediate results. I ate some broccoli and these pants are still tight. It's upsetting, right? So there's the resources there. And let's see, I think we got just one or two.
Adrian, I've said that, and you know this, for years, one of the reasons that we have such an attrition rate in the real estate business is because you don't see immediate results.
That's right.
And people are used to seeing immediate results, especially now. If they don't see immediate results, they flounder and they fail and get something else where they get a paycheck every week.
I'll tell you a scary statistic I heard recently. You ready? Only 3% of agents in this country sell 22 or more houses per year. 3%. Let's do some quick math by our standards here in Gwinnett County. That's about $200,000 of income, isn't it? All right, which sounds really great, but let's subtract $18,000 for KW. Let's subtract another $10,000 for FMLS. Let's subtract another $15,000 or $20,000 for marketing costs. Let's subtract another $30,000, $40,000, whatever for taxes. Now you got $100,000. Congrats, you're middle class. In fact, if you're a single income at $100,000, you're barely kind of making it in this area, aren't you? How are you gonna buy a $700,000 house in Beaufort City for $100,000 of your income? Congrats, you're like middle class, slipping into lower, right? Because the economy's the inflation, all the things are crazy, right? 3% make enough to be considered middle class. Y'all, that's a scary number, right? And then you couple that with Jason's stat from a few weeks ago, 87% fail in the first 5 years. So now it's 3% of the 13% who remained. All right, anyway, get to work. All right, let's bring up Lisa. World Financial Group, come on down. She is our lunch sponsor today.
Okay, guys, so after coming back from COVID and flu B, which was a lot of fun, I'm healthy again, thank God. Anyway, so I won't get you all sick. So I'm here today. All I ask is that you guys could go get lunch, and at 12:15, I'm gonna start a 20-minute talk about financial literacy. Some of you may have already been in my class, but it's interesting because every one of my speakers come in with different conversations. And really, we're ending the year, it's coming up, inflation's going up, people are losing money. I know people in 401ks that are losing money like crazy, and in stocks. So we have different ways of helping you to get there. My partner and friend, Janet Lynch, will be on the call. That's the young lady up there. And she's waiting to talk to all of y'all. So just go get lunch and come right back. 12:15, I'll start. You'll be out of here in 20 minutes. That's how it sounds.
Let's give her a hand, guys. Alicia, do we have a drawing?